Okay, so have you ever been just like scrolling through your crypto prices, right? And you see this one altcoin just totally out of nowhere explodes.
Yeah,
It's like, bam, 60, 80% up in a day.
absolutely.
And then there's another one that you thought looked pretty good, and it's like tanking, going to the crypto graveyard.
Yeah.
What is going on with that? It's like, how do you pick the winning lottery ticket, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's behind those pumps? And the answer might actually surprise you.
Yeah, it's fascinating how these things happen at the same time, right? You'll see
Yeah.
these divergences all the time. And the answer is it's not always some big technological breakthrough or mass adoption,
Right,
especially in the short term.
right.
There are definitely more nuanced and subtle forces at work.
Exactly. And you can't talk about altcoins without at least mentioning Bitcoin,
Of course.
the OG,
Yep.
right? It's been on like an extended vacation downwards since about January 20th.
Yeah.
It kind of like keeps hitting this ceiling, this trend line, and it's in this really interesting zone right now.
hmm
It's like where it used to be support and now it's resistance.
Yeah. I mean, if we look at it purely from a chart perspective,
Yeah.
a lot of people looking at the charts are saying it's going to go lower
Yeah.
because it's been in this price range before.
Yeah.
And every time it's gone into that price range, it's been met by sellers.
Yeah. Yeah. Total textbook bearish move for a lot of folks.
Exactly.
But then you've got this other idea going on, this liquidity index,
Right.
and it's saying that we might actually see an upward trend for Bitcoin as we move towards the end of May. It's like two totally different weather forecasts, right?
Exactly.
One is saying storm clouds, the other one is saying sunny skies.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to what you prioritize in your analysis.
Right.
Do you just prioritize the technicals on the chart?
Yeah.
Or do you look at some broader economic conditions like overall market liquidity and stuff?
Right.
And I think the overall market liquidity, at least from my perspective,
Yeah.
is pointing towards more of an upward move.
Yeah. And that's interesting because it hints at underlying strength despite the current resistance.
Absolutely.
So that potential for upward movement for Bitcoin, that could actually be an opportunity.
For sure.
Because if we see those short-term dips, which are definitely still possible,
Yep.
that could be a great time to buy.
Absolutely.
And be strategic about the coins you're buying and the narratives behind them.
Exactly.
We'll get into the narratives a little bit later, but first we have to understand what makes this market tick.
I agree.
What makes these prices move up and down? And it's not just one thing. It's probably like 3 or 4 major factors that impact different cryptos at different times.
Right.
So if you're looking at the top 100 cryptos by market cap, the ones you typically find on the major exchanges like Binance, Coinbase,
Yeah.
they have very high trading volume.
Yeah.
One of the big things that moves those prices is the market maker.
Right. And I think it's interesting because a lot of these cryptocurrencies are so correlated that the market makers kind of move them together, right? They're looking at Bitcoin. They're looking at overall market liquidity.
Right.
They're looking at aggregate positions of traders.
Mm-hmm.
So like, are more people long or more people short?
Right.
And so they're kind of making decisions based on all that data.
Yeah, Bitcoin catches a cold. The top 100 get their tissues.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. There's always a few in that top 100 that are kind of like doing their own thing, right?
Yep.
But if you go outside the top 100 to these smaller market cap altcoins, the ones you're not going to find so easily on those major exchanges.
Yeah.
Often they have very little futures volume or no futures volume.
Right.
The drivers there are completely different. It's often the retail investor
Right.
who's in the driver's seat.
It's a much different dynamic.
Totally.
Because it's not so much influenced by those larger institutional traders.
Right.
And it's much more sensitive to the collective enthusiasm
Yeah.
or fear of retail investors.
Right. So think about it. When do you typically buy crypto? Do you buy crypto when you see some headline pop up on your phone?
Right.
The surprising thing is that for these smaller market cap coins,
Yeah.
news might not actually be the main driver.
Right.
What really moves the needle a lot of the time are these personalities, these crypto influencers.
Exactly. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about social influence,
Yeah.
right? Especially when you're dealing with these smaller, less liquid assets.
Right.
A shout out from someone who's got a good following.
Huge.
Yeah.
Can be a huge driver.
It can be like the buy button.
Absolutely.
So think about figures like Alex Becker or Elo Atries.
Yep.
They don't put out content every day.
Right.
They seem to make their appearances when the market is already going up.
Right.
Which is probably a good strategy for them.
Right.
But when they do highlight a specific coin, you can often see it take off.
And I think that's interesting because it speaks to why certain influencers have that level of influence.
Yeah.
It comes down to the size of their audience, the trust of their audience.
Right. People are looking for signals, and
Yeah.
these people have become signalers.
Right. Yeah. So how do you get a hint about what coins someone like Alex Becker might talk about before he actually talks about them?
Right.
One tactic is you could just look on his social media. He recently hinted at a video coming out about real-world assets.
Interesting.
And here's the thing. Alex Becker isn't really known for talking about real-world assets. He talks about gaming, he talks about AI,
Right.
narratives that resonate with the average retail investor.
Right.
But the fact that he's mentioning real-world assets is very telling,
Right.
especially when you consider that big players like BlackRock are making moves into tokenizing real-world assets.
And I think BlackRock getting into real-world asset tokenization lends so much weight
Right.
and legitimacy to that narrative.
Huge. Yeah.
So when someone like Becker then talks about specific projects within real-world asset tokenization,
Right.
you could see a lot of retail flow into those projects.
Exactly. And Alex Becker's probably not going to talk about the same projects that BlackRock is. He's going to talk about some smaller market cap, real world asset coins.
Yeah.
So how do you find those coins?
Right.
Well, one little trick you can do is there's this free Chrome extension that lets you search for someone like Alex Becker.
Oh.
You can filter by crypto mentions, and you can go through the transcripts of his recent videos.
Interesting.
So you can actually copy the transcripts into ChatGPT and ask it what coins does he mention.
Right.
And it'll spit them out, and you can kind of get clues.
Yeah.
I know he recently mentioned like Ono and Chainlink. Those aren't really going to move the needle that much. But if you go back to December or January,
Right.
when the market was a little bit more bullish, he did mention some real-world asset coins.
Okay.
I even remember him mentioning Clearpool,
Right.
which fits into that narrative.
It's a really good point you're making, that it's important to differentiate how you analyze the larger cap coins
Yeah.
versus smaller cap coins.
Right.
When you're looking at the larger cap coins, you're looking more at fundamentals.
Yes.
You're looking at adoption rates.
Right.
You're looking at just overall long-term viability of the technology and the narrative.
Right.
But for these smaller, more speculative coins,
Yeah.
and especially if you're looking for short-term gains,
Yeah.
understanding influencer mentions and potentially front-running those is super important.
Huge. Yeah, it's a totally different game.
Yeah.
So we've talked about what moves these markets. Now, let's talk about the current narratives that you should be paying attention to.
Okay.
Because after a market downturn where a lot of retail investors have taken their ball and gone home,
Yeah.
sold off their holdings, certain narratives tend to regain their momentum,
Right.
and then they start attracting renewed interest in investment.
I agree. This resurgence of these narratives is usually a really strong indicator
Yeah.
that the market is recovering.
Exactly.
Because as confidence returns, people are looking for stories
Yeah.
and sectors that are going to grow.
Exactly. So first up, real-world assets, or RWAs.
Okay.
We already talked about this a little bit with BlackRock and Alex Becker.
Right.
Clearpool is one project in that space
Yep.
that you might want to keep an eye on. Then we have DeFi, or decentralized finance.
Yeah.
And a great way to look at the health of the DeFi ecosystem is to go to a website called DeFi Llama.
Okay.
It's like the central hub for all things DeFi.
Okay.
And one key metric to look at there is the TVL, or the total value locked, on different layer 1 blockchains.
Right.
These are the base layer networks like Ethereum, Solana,
Yeah.
and the ones that have maintained or even grown their TVL generally are a sign of underlying strength.
Okay.
Think about the established players like Ethereum, Binance, Smart Chain, Tron, Solana.
Yep.
But it's also interesting to look at the growth of some of these newer layer ones like Sui Aptos, and
Yep.
even some up-and-comers like Sonic, the new Phantom network.
Okay.
Really focus on those layer ones that have a strong and growing TVL.
I agree.
Full disclosure, I do hold some Aptos and Sui.
Nice.
And we actually have a deep dive coming up soon on something pretty unique that's happening within the Sui ecosystem.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
I agree.
Okay, next up, gaming.
Okay.
Now, the video game industry is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's way bigger than movies.
Right.
Everyone plays games these days in some form or another.
Yeah.
And it's a very natural fit for blockchain technology.
Absolutely.
It's also a story that everyone can understand.
Right.
If you look at mobile gaming, especially in regions like Asia, Australasia,
Yep.
the mobile gaming market is just exploding
It's huge.
because smartphones have gotten so cheap and powerful.
Right.
So many people have these gaming devices in their hands.
Yeah.
And there's this game I've been looking at called My Lovely Planet.
Okay.
Get this? It's being developed by some of the same people who created Candy Crush.
Wow.
So it's like Web3 integration meets casual mobile gaming.
That's a really interesting combination.
Yeah.
Because you've got this huge global market
Massive.
of people who are already playing mobile games.
Yeah.
So the potential audience for Web3 integrated games is massive, especially in developing economies where they don't have access to consoles or PCs.
Right, they just have your phone.
Yep.
Okay, next up, artificial intelligence, or AI.
Yeah.
The projected growth in spending on AI hardware is insane.
It's crazy.
It's projected that the U.S. alone will reach $1.7 trillion by 2030.
Wow.
With an annual growth rate of 43%.
That's crazy.
That's insane, and AI is such a natural fit for crypto, especially when you think about decentralized computing power.
Absolutely.
For lower risk, you might want to look at some of the larger market cap AI crypto projects.
Yep.
But for the more speculative plays, you could look at things like Based AI or Netmind Token.
Okay.
We'll actually do a deep dive on those smaller cap AI projects in a later episode.
Look forward to that.
And then finally, we have DePIN.
Okay.
Or decentralized physical infrastructure networks.
Got it.
And this is where it gets interesting because you see this overlap between DePIN and AI.
Okay.
Because DePIN could offer solutions to some of AI's biggest scaling challenges.
Right.
The demand for raw compute power for AI is outstripping the supply.
Yeah.
And DePIN projects like Aether, I.net, Akash are working on that.
Right.
Aether, for example, despite recent volatility in its chart, it's already generated over $100 million in revenue.
Wow.
Which puts it among the top 20 crypto projects by revenue.
Interesting.
There's also Peak Network, which is a DePIN project that seems to have a strong retail following.
Okay.
If you go to their website, you'll see why.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The combination of DePIN and AI is definitely something to watch.
Absolutely.
Because decentralizing the physical infrastructure necessary to do AI could be a game changer.
Huge, yeah.
And it's an interesting area to potentially invest in.
Absolutely, especially with the revenue that Aether is already generating.
Exactly.
Okay, so just a quick note on general investment strategy.
Okay.
You always want to tread carefully in this market and keep a little bit of cash on the sidelines,
right.
Maybe like 5%. For dips or opportunities that come up.
Makes sense.
And if the market does dip, you might consider deploying that capital into some of the more established, promising projects within those key narratives.
Okay.
RWA's DeFi gaming AI.
Makes sense.
And for most people, I would say the crypto that you're already holding, I would say like 95% of it, probably has a very good chance of recovering and exceeding previous highs when the market enters a bull cycle.
Right.
So resist the urge to panic sell during temporary dips.
Yeah, and I think instead of just chasing the hype around how fast a project is or its tech specs, do your research on the underlying project.
Yes.
Look at the revenue. Look at the actual usage. Look at the growth.
Yes, those are the signals.
Yeah, I think that's a much more sustainable long-term way
to
invest in this space.
Totally. And, you know, on a personal note, and as a bit of a cautionary tale, I actually got scammed in crypto not too long ago.
Oh, no.
Not fun at all. But it was a real wake-up call about security.
Yeah.
So I really tightened up my security, and I upgraded to using a hardware wallet.
Good.
I got the Ledger Flex with the touchscreen.
Nice.
It's actually pretty user-friendly.
Good.
And because I believe in the importance of security, I've actually partnered with Ledger.
Okay.
They've given me an affiliate deal. So if you do decide to get a Ledger through my link, which is down below, I do get a small commission. But more importantly for you, they're offering up to $70 worth of Bitcoin deposited right into your new ledger.
Wow, that's awesome.
They have different ledger models with varying Bitcoin rewards.
Okay.
So check out the link for the specifics. But honestly, even if you completely ignore the affiliate part, please get a hardware wallet.
Please.
Whatever brand, whatever model you choose,
it
is non-negotiable if you're serious about holding crypto.
I agree. Hardware wallets are just a must-have.
Absolutely.
If you're in this space.
Totally. So everything we talked about today, consider it a starting point, not the final word.
Yeah.
Right.
Do your own research.
Yes.
Understand how this market works.
Yeah.
What the key drivers are.
Right.
Don't just sit back and wait for the information to come to you.
Exactly.
The more you learn, the more you understand, the better equipped you'll be to make good decisions.
Absolutely.
So don't follow the herd.
Be an independent thinker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the key takeaway, understanding what really drives those altcoin pumps.
Yeah.
Especially the power of these market narratives.
Right.
And the influence of key individuals can give you a real advantage in this crazy market.
Yeah. It's about being ahead of the curve.
Exactly.
Trying to identify things before they become mainstream news.
Right. So which of these narratives that we talked about today, real-world assets, DeFi, gaming, AI depend?
Yeah.
Which one resonates with you?
Right.
Start digging deeper into that area.
Yeah, because the biggest opportunities are usually found in the early stages of those narratives.
Absolutely. And here's a final thought for you to ponder as you go about your day.
Could the future of your investment success in crypto actually depend on your ability to identify these narratives and act on them before they become common knowledge?
That's a great question.
Something to think about.
Definitely.
So if you found this deep dive into the crypto market insightful and helpful, do us a favor, hit the like button down below, leave a comment, let us know your thoughts, any questions you have, and share this with anyone you think might find it valuable.
Yeah, spread the knowledge.
Let's all help each other navigate this complex world of cryptocurrency.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for diving deep with us today.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you in the next one.
See you later.